Holy shit balls, what is happening? The biggest JW bombshell update has just been dropped, and social media is alight with opinions and suspicions, and I have my own that I'm going to share with you today. I am Ryan, a former JW, and I share my experiences here on social media about growing up in a close group and what it's like deconstructing and all things JW nonsense and shenanigans. I'm going to stand here and discuss it with you, share my opinions, my suspicions as I repair one of my overall outfits. So let's get to it. Over the past several months, there have been numerous changes in the organization. It's almost like we're getting whiplash because things are vacillating back and forth so much with the new light and updates. No time requirement for publishers, fewer hours for pioneers, men can have beards, women can wear slacks, men don't have to wear formal attire like suit and tie all the time. Now here comes the bombshell. Now Jehovah's Witnesses are allowed to pursue education. Right? Like, what dimension is this? Where am I? What is going on? I'm astonished because previously the organization considered education as part of Satan's world. It would poison your mind about the organization. It would expose you to demons, all kinds of bad things. I told y'all before, I didn't think I was going to graduate high school because Armageddon was coming around the corner any day. Of course, I didn't plan a future or consider a career. I was so discouraged. I basically had given up. Now they are walking that back and have told members that it's a matter of conscience. Oops. And David Splain went as far to say that elders should not be commenting about your choice and they can't judge you for it. The ultimatum to that is, or the caveat to that is, they still have to put Kingdom Ministries first. They need to put Jehovah's organization first, which puts people in a predicament because studies require a lot of time, resources. You've got to be writing papers, doing a lot of studies, and always in the back of your head worrying about if you're doing enough for Jehovah. It will distract from your goal of pursuing that career, getting a better education, and hopefully a better paying job. A few years ago, there was even an elder training video where an elder was moved from his position because he allowed two of his daughters to get an education. And in the judicial committee, the other elder said that people in the congregation no longer respected him and valued his opinion because he allowed his two daughters to pursue a career, to go get educated. What they're saying is the entire congregation lost respect for this brother and no longer trusted his spiritual counsel. Countless people have gotten disfellowshipped and ostracized or simply faded away to protect themselves from judgment. Kids turned down free education, like full ride to college, scholarships, and they turned them down, all because of what Watchtower said about education being a tool of Satan. Now, why do I think this is happening? I believe it comes down to donations. I think the Jehovah's Witnesses are statistically the most impoverished religion. And it's likely the only way that members will be able to continue living in this economic crisis is by working a better paying job, which they do not have access to because they do not have the training or the skill set. And if they can get a better paying job, then that means they'll be able to donate more money to the organization. So that part works out for them, doesn't it? I'm just going to talk loud as I do this. Hopefully you will be able to hear me. We're going to get sewing. So between the disfellowshipping, the number of people that left during COVID, they probably faded or just completely left. The 1,000 people that they lose every year to not accepting blood transfusion. The organization has been static for a long time. They've seen little to no growth. Oh shoot, this is going to be hard. Do I have to hand? I might have to hand stitch this. They have been manipulating the numbers for a long time now to make it seem as if there is growth. But comparing year to year shows how badly they are performing. There is no appeal to being a witness. No holidays, no birthdays, division in your family, risk of being cut off, constant fear. So overall, it's pretty dismal for the organization. If someone did seek secular education, they wouldn't be allowed to pursue any kind of position or privilege, if you know what I mean, inside of the Kingdom Hall. They would be punished for going to school, likely marked. They would always find a way to discourage people from pursuing their best life, although they use the hashtag best life ever. Oh no, my pedal's stuck. Wait. Hashtag best life ever. They know that when children get an education and are exposed to other cultures, ways of life, ideas, it helps them with their critical thinking abilities and reasoning skills because they have access to so much more information to help them make a well-rounded decision. Oh no, something, is that working right? Okay, sorry. I think it's working fine. They'll find out that those kids are not much different than them. Like, okay, so maybe their beliefs are a little bit different. For the most part, those differences are minute compared to how many similarities that they have. They probably have similar goals, aspirations, enjoy the same kind of entertainment or music, you know, or spirituality, activism, you name it. They'll see that they have more in common than differences with their fellow peers in school. And even when they do find small differences between the religions, it might help to shed light on just how much they don't know about other belief systems that are very similar and what they have in common. Yet we made harsh decisions about people and judged them because we were only shown half-truth and propaganda by the organization. It was all just to make Jehovah's Witnesses look like they're better or special, but they're contrary to be contrary. They're different just to be different. They want to stand out. They think that that makes them look like the one true religion. I'm trying to tie this off. You know what? I'm just going to cut it. When you go to school, where's my thing? When you go to school with hundreds of kids who are all taught that they have the one true religion, it might bring a lot of unresolved questions to the surface, which is something the governing body would discourage. It's counterintuitive to let people get educated and then begin to critically think and reason a bit better. That is something they are very fearful of. Free thinkers. Taking that into consideration, this is a massive move. This is huge. That's why I kind of was shocked. This is going to affect children's future, hopefully in a good way, but maybe now there's some hope for them, an open door for them, a different path to take. Also, as a woman, I sort of feel like this shift could be seismic for them. More education means more independence, more intellect, more room to breathe and gain your own understanding instead of having to constantly rely on a man. You know, getting passed off from your dad to now being your husband's property. It's almost like we never have an opportunity to be by ourselves, make our own decisions, and mistakes. For decades, Watchtower has boxed women in. They're second-class citizens. They don't have privileges inside of the Kingdom Hall. And then you add on to that no higher learning, they're in big trouble in this world. They're so far behind the mark. Imagine how drastically that this could change their lives. I mean, they won't have to be subservient if they can lean on their own independence. They may have an exit out now. I mean, as a woman before, your role is to be obedient, to pioneer, maybe to raise kids. And now that they can go get an education, learn critical thinking skills, it is far more likely they will be less easy to control. I remember how it felt growing up. Education wasn't just a scourge, it was painted as some kind of spiritual test. Like Satan was testing you, or God was testing you to see what your decisions would be, or a trap. Every decision you make comes down to a trap or a spiritual test. Let's try these on, shall we? So here it is. I was told that college would fill my head with demons. If I wanted to pursue higher education, that meant I was greedy, corrupted, weak. Instead of minding their goddamn minds, the governing body and the elders micromanage every breath that we take, every move that we make. They'll be watching you. So I pushed down my curiosity and I let opportunities slip by. Looking back, of course, I realize what it cost me. My time, my confidence, choices I never got to explore. That's why this change is like, wow. I was so discouraged, I practically gave up. And I've heard from many former JWs, and they feel the same. Now I'm gonna fix some other clothes that I have. Now they walk it back. They've told members it's a matter of conscience, even saying that elders should not judge or interfere with someone's education decision. But what they did continue to do was say how you should put the kingdom ministry first, Jehovah first, the organization first. So it puts people in a predicament where what they're pursuing requires a lot of study, writing papers, research, and their fear is that it will take away from your kingdom ministry. If you are paying thousands of dollars to level up your career, what the governing body need from you should be your last concern. It should not be a concern at all as far as I'm concerned, but what can I do about that? A few years ago, there was even an elder training video where an elder was removed from his position because he allowed his 2 daughters to get educated. Now I'm going to repair this little top that I made and put straps on it similarly. So as for me, I pushed down my curiosity. I let opportunities slip by. Looking back, I realized how much that cost me. I mean, not just confidence and a future, but a lifetime of choices I wasn't able to make on my own, of my own volition. That's why this change hits me so hard. I can't help but to think about what my life would be like had the Jehovah's Witnesses made a complete 180 back then. If I'd have been allowed to learn, to think, to dream, to even dream, daydream about a life beyond the walls of the Kingdom Hall. Live without guilt and fear. I've been sharing my feelings on the effects of growing up in a closed group and how they coerce you to remove body autonomy, control from you. So on one hand, I'm extremely happy for the members, especially those Jehovah's Witnesses who wanted to prepare for a future, wanted to have a secular education, but weren't allowed to, and they just had to swallow that. The offer was never on the table for them. Or if they did go, they would have to suffer the consequences, like being marked, not being able to get privileges in the Kingdom Hall. No one wants to associate with you. They think that you're spiritually weak. I just hope that a lot of these JW kids go to school, and if they do, they take it seriously. And don't worry a lick about what the governing body want. Focus on your studies, getting good grades, making friends, making mistakes, finding a better paying job, and don't worry whether or not David Spillane has a new watch on his wrist. Okay? You know what really grinds my gears? What truly gets my goat? Is the fact they've been able to do all of this with impunity. Every decision they've made, regardless of the countless amounts of people that have been affected, they will never be held responsible. They will never take any accountability. There will never be And I'm sorry, ever. I mean, they're lucky they're even getting this opportunity, quite frankly. Every rule that they have made has come with an iron fist, unflinchable. And those rules have damaged countless lives, innumerable. And they're petty. These are petty rules made up just to spite their members, intentionally to harm them, to cause psychological damage and trauma. They make people afraid of education. Who is afraid of education? Make that make sense for me, please. I know that people say ignorance is bliss. This is way beyond ignorance. And on top of all that, they have penalized so many people. I have no idea how to count them. Myriad. They love to use that word myriad, like the angels, myriads of angels. Well, there's there's a wake of harmed Jehovah's Witnesses from all of their ridiculous rules. The loss of life they will never apologize for or acknowledge even. So many people have lost all that they love at the flip of a switch. And just like that, another flip of the switch. Now it's all good. Pickles like pushed right up against the door. Now everything is a-okay. All those people who were disfellowshipped or shunned, ostracized for wanting more for their life, for their family, for their parents, whom they'll have to take care of, children if they decide to have any, that they'll be responsible for. Their lives are left in ruins. While now it'll be like, no big deal. Go ahead. Go to school. Bye, honey. Love ya. Get your education. Yeah, okay. All of this makes a lot of sense. All of this tracks. All tracks. You're supposed to move on and forgive like none of this ever happened. You don't get to feel some type of way about it. And even if you do feel some type of way about it, you'd be told that you have to move on. You need to forgive and forget. Turn the other cheek. 7 times 70, 77 times 711, whatever. You get the drift. Or they'll tell you that you're the one being judgmental and holding a grudge. Not the person actually judging you for living your life. You're considered disrespectful and not honoring Jehovah, not being loyal to his one true mouthpiece. Not Jesus, the governing body. So yeah, wow, like I'm a bit in shock. I don't know what to think. I wonder what's going to come next. But I will say this makes a lot of sense considering how bad their numbers have been. How the numbers are just dwindling down day by day, year by year. They're showing no growth, completely stagnant. And with technology and social media like it is today, we are so connected as a world. The world is much smaller than it used to be. You can't avoid seeing people from other walks of life. Similar lives, just a tad bit different. But they're still kind and friendly people. Wait, what? Well, You're so ingrained with the us versus them mentality, you had no idea that they could be good people. Good people who don't worship Jehovah. That's just unheard of. Liar, liar, pence unfair. We were told that everybody in the world wanted to harm us, take advantage of us, abuse, exploit us. Meanwhile, every accusation is a confession with this organization. All along, they were the ones enslaving us. They were the ones taking advantage. They pulled the wool over our eyes. Oh, be meek, be mild. The meek shall inherit the earth. Be docile. Be mild-tempered. You should just roll with every punch you're given. Continue smiling in the face of adversity. It was the governing body causing the problems, causing the harm, destroying our lives all along. Not worldly people. No cap. None whatsoever. There is a method to their madness. Being uneducated meant we were more easily molded, primed and groomed to be what they wanted us to be. We were supposed to be yes people to their theocracy, dictatorship, tyranny, fascism, really. Now that they're offering their sheep more freedom, what's going to happen? Will the JWs become more like the Mormons? Is that what they're aiming for? Will they open their own schools? They already have an entertainment facility where they film all their dumb Jesus videos. Are they gonna have their own colleges too, just like the Mormons? I mean, they are the richest. They are the richest religious sect. Like billions of dollars the Mormons have. The governing body may have realized that they were too strict for far too long, and they cut off their nose to spite your face. I know, it's cut off your nose to spite your face. I get it, but spider face sounds funnier. They coerced their members into poverty, and now the organization is feeling the pinch. Beep, beep. That karma is playing out in real time in their bottom line. Now, I'm not saying that the organization is struggling financially. They have very deep pockets. It is enough distress that it moved the needle. It made a mark. It made an impression. They're worried about something. Is it possible there's more leaks in the organization that we're aware of? Not just money, not just people, not just their abuse cases making light of day. I mean, they are losing big swaths of money to the lawsuits they're losing from the loss of donations because the majority of their members are living in poverty. The payouts for their abuse cases they're losing, subsidies from different governments they're losing. Whatever their motivation is, we know that it's not compassion. It's not sympathy. It's not empathy. It will always be the almighty dollar, never about the health of their sweet little sheep. Otherwise, they wouldn't require them to die, not accept a blood transfusion, or shun for that matter. I am struggling to find this material. It looks like this. I might just have to make them black. I mean, do you think it's because all of a sudden their hearts have changed? They suddenly care about members' well-being? Not. Oh, give them a break. Oh, be kind. They're doing their best to make changes. Oh, let's not say we did. Nah. They could never care. What it likely is they've realized there's a multitude of Jehovah's Witnesses, generations that are getting older, that were told they were not going to pass away, are now passing away. No savings, no nest egg, no pension, no health care, just a false promise of paradise. Soonish, somewhere around the corner, one day, maybe. The younger generations are watching their parents grow up, yet they took a menial job. They pursued a life of pioneering, of obeisance to the organization. They took a menial job, made minimum wage, and now they can't care for their own parents. They can't manage the expenses that come with growing old. And cost of living has gone sky high. Inflation is ridiculous. Groceries cost an arm and a leg. Was this change too late? They're never going to apologize or acknowledge the effects of their decisions that they made willy-nilly style. So what's next? They're desperate to change the future of Watchtower, but for some, these changes, especially in such quick succession, might indicate that they're not being made by an all-knowing, all-seeing, all-loving God. But you know who is at the helm? 11 greedy, self-righteous old dudes. And their only concern is that their honeypot is drying up. So yeah, what, education wasn't okay before because smart people were evil? No, they have something to gain. They aren't transparent, so we just don't know the truth. All we can do is speculate and draw our own conclusions. No wonder there's so many conspiracy theories out there. Do you think all of a sudden the governing body have found their compassion bone? Unlikely. They're trying to survive, but maybe these consistent changes will prove to people that Watchtower has run out of excuses. Maybe they've run out of money, and maybe it's because they're running out of members. What I see is a bunch of old dudes who are very conniving for so long. They've alienated themselves from the rest of the members. They were out of touch. They lost base, and now they're flailing, trying to figure out what to do to correct course. Is there a birthday celebration in the near future for the organization? Who knows? Anything is possible at this point. Well, folks, I think I'm going to wrap up there because I've said enough. I don't even know what I've said because I've said so much. I have plenty of other JW videos if you're interested, or if you're into apologetics, debunking the Bible, historicity, or you can check out some of my other videos on the divine feminine. Ashera, the mother goddess, mentioned in the Bible that has been erased and demonized, is actually a very important part of Israelite history. She was used to prop up Yahweh. Or I have my Cult Dropout series where I share my musings and opinions of life inside of a high control group and deconstructing at this time of my life. Hey, time of my life. Here to hold it all in. What's happening? Fuck. This is what happens when you wake up later. Just kidding. Anyway, as always, I appreciate your opinions. They help me grow as a person. It gives me more to think about. And I hope that I can do the same for you. Thanks for stopping by. I hope to see you soon. Mwah. Listen, oh baby, blessed.